You can flee through the shadows for a long cursed while, building Hell's Gate where the damn souls pile. Running from the light but your sins won't fade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Go tell that globalist carry on, that silver-tongued serpent down rhino working in shame, that war-hawk gorging on carnage, that venomous capital ghoul. Tell them all that God's gonna cut them down. Tell them all that God's gonna cut them down. You weave your treachery in midnight's grip, selling nations for a traitor's script. Stack your blood red gold, build your throne of lies, but truth's cold fire burns through your disguise. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Go tell that deep state reaper, that war profiteer and viper, that turncoat cloaked in false flags, that missile-mad butcher, that fork-tongued DC fiend. Tell them all that God's gonna cut them down. Tell them all that God's gonna cut them down. Go tell that deep state reaper, that war profiteer and viper, that turncoat cloaked in false flags, that missile-mad butcher, that fork-tongued DC fiend. Tell them all that God's gonna cut them down. Your souls on airwaves of doom, spin lives for masters in the camera's gloom. Your crooked smirk fools the blind no more. God's wrath is knocking at your gilded door. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. You tech lords, schemers, serving Satan's code, chain every soul to your digital goad. Code your machines to enslave mankind's mind. God sees the hell that your circuits bind. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. You rig the balance with your tech lord's hands, steal the people's voice across the land. Your algorithms cheat, your screens deceive, but God's gonna judge the lies you weave. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. From shadows no voter can pierce, choking truth dead with your globalist curse. Unelected scribes with your schemes you bind, crush the free man's hope, leave his dreams behind. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. You fuel your NGOs with billionaire blood, pull strings in the dark, drag the world through mud, poisoning minds with your schemes that creep, but God sees the chains that your greed will reap. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. You plot in your chambers with iron, you bind United Nations, trafficking lives. Your hands dripped with red, enslaving mankind. You face the fire where the damned are consigned. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. Sooner or later God will swing his blade. You rise on the ashes of the righteous and free. Hide your crimes deep where the angels can't see, but justice burns fierce, it don't break or bow.
How do we make Ireland great again, dude? I'm really excited for this. What do you think we got to do?
To make Ireland great again, we return power to the people. We empower localised government to rebalance the distribution of power that Brussels currently have over our own government. That's how we do it.
Who was your kind of mentors when it comes to kind of political life?
People of Ireland, the mothers of Ireland, the sisters, the brothers, the fathers, as I am myself, a father and employer of the people of Ireland. And I'm standing front and centre for my country. I refuse to lie down. while the makeup of my nation is changed before my very eyes.
You're so passionate about it. How did when did this passion start? At what point do you say, hey man, I gotta get really active?
Ireland is a democratic country. We operate by the laws of democracy that is currently being interfered with and attempted to be blocked.
Watching the world burn, watching the world burn. September 14th, 2025. Let's get into it. So that was Conor McGregor up front. Reason I wanted to show you that video was there's a post on X right now that says that 3 million people are marching in Great Britain. Now, I haven't verified that in any way, shape, or fashion. Sometimes people put up wild lies on X and until you have multiple sources. But I just wanted to say, because that leads into a different topic, was, in the last video, I said, blessed are the truth tellers, for they shall set you free. Well, right now, 17 countries are holding vigils for Charlie Kirk. Now, I know Great Britain is one, and South Korea is another, and I don't know what the other countries are. But I do have, we're going to hit it here in just a few minutes in the video, a video from RT of Alexander Dugin, who I quoted in the last video, where he put a post up about his condolences to the Kirk family from Russia. Said all the Russian people grieve with the Americans. So I wanted to hit on a topic that's bothering me a whole lot right now, and that is the vitriol that I'm seeing from, if you want to say the right or the MAGA movement, towards the leftists. Now, I rage against the Democrats. You got a Democrat neighbor, they're a pedophile. You got a Democrat neighbor, they're probably a meat puppet. You got a Democrat neighbor, they hate you. You got a Democrat neighbor, they want you dead. And I've been harping on that for a long, long, long time. But I do think that the death of Charlie Kirk finally convinced some people that maybe I had to question my relationship with a Democrat. Just a little bit. Now, with that said, right now I'm hearing that a lot of leftists who have celebrated Charlie Kirk's death are losing their jobs. And this is a cautionary tale, and boy, to have me speak on the side of a leftist, that is really something. I'm a free speech absolutist. While I think it is appalling and absolutely disgusting to celebrate the death of Charlie Kirk, I don't think that the cancel culture that's now being wielded in the opposite direction is correct. And I'll give you some examples for you to think about. All right, so back when COVID was coming out in 2020, I was telling everybody, well, first I was telling everybody this thing is coming, because I saw it back in February. Well, I got it in January of that year. And I'll tell you what, it kicked my ass. And so literally overnight, I was canceled. I talked about that in the last video. I had it because my wife, she's a flaming liberal Democrat. So and she's much more social and outgoing than I am. So those were the social circles I was moving in. And I'm going to tell you right now, I was excommunicated from old time friendships. Just for one, not getting the jab, and two, talking about the fact that it came from a lab, and three, I said that there's natural immunity, and four, I said that masks probably don't work. At that time, I didn't know for sure, but I said, look, I don't see how they're going to work, because viruses are extremely, and of course, I was watching Dr. John Campbell, and he was educating me. I'm not a doctor. I haven't done any studies on masks to see how good they work or how bad they don't. I did know history, and they've tried masking for flu viruses, and that didn't work because everybody still got the flu. So there was a lot of historical background that was easy to look up and say, you know what, this Fauci dude, he's out of his freaking mind. And then, of course, we've never locked down an entire country, and I said, that's wrong. Well, anyway, just a short story long, I lost all my friends at that time. Well, not all my friends. I still had a few that hung around, but most everybody. I mean, I would say probably At that time, I knew about 40 people or so, and maybe 2 will still talk to me. So that's about 38 people. So I was completely excommunicated. Now, if you recall, the censorship that the left was doing against the right, okay, we were booted off of Twitter. We were booted off of, well, they shut down Parler. I had a huge following on Parler. I had 56,000 followers on Parler. They completely shut that down, you know, and then people lost their jobs for not getting the jab. You know, they were canceling us right and left. So I can see the vitriol and the hatred that a lot of if you want to call them right wing, a lot of MAGA people have for the leftist lunatics, okay? But I don't want to see us resort to the same cancel culture that they resorted to. Now, does that mean that we don't get more aggressive and wake up people, you know, to the fact that they're in a satanic cult? If you're a Democrat, they're probably Satanist, you know? But anyway, and so I'm totally against this let's take them out back and throttle them, you know, type of attitude that I'm seeing all around. They're happy that they're losing their jobs. They're happy that they're getting kicked off of social media for exercising their free speech. I apologize if the wind is getting into the mic, but I think we're heading down a dangerous path. And I give you, you know, the other example, okay? In 2022, I was on the wrong side. I told everybody that Ukraine was an evil country and that we shouldn't be supporting Ukraine. And everybody had their Ukrainian flags up in the windows, and they called me a lunatic. That, you know, I was a fringe. You know, I can't even tell you the names that they called me because I wouldn't support Ukraine. Oh man, you are a bad person. Then look what happened to me. I came out against Israel, just like Charlie Kirk was doing in the last 2 weeks before he was murdered. That's why a lot of people still feel there's got to be some sort of Israeli connection, although all the evidence is not pointing in that direction, as far as I can tell. And we'll get to Charlie, the assassin, here in just a second. But because I said Zionism is evil, and they're exterminating the Palestinians, which right now, if you didn't know, they're gathering up all the Palestinians in the West Bank and putting them in concentration camps.
These Palestinian men are detained by the Israeli military. Dragged from shops, cafes and public places, they're forced to march around the city of Tulkarem in the north of the occupied West Bank. Yet another Israeli attempt to instill fear and humiliation and impose control over Palestinians. Mass detentions started at midday on Thursday and continued on Friday. Pharmacist Yazid Sarghali says soldiers ordered everyone out of his store.
They forced us to put our arms on one another like this. There were 7 of us, 4 employees and 3 customers. They made us walk for around 100 meters. Then they raided a home and arrested another 2 people and made them join us. As we walked, the army was raiding houses, one by one, detaining any men they found and making them join us.
Here, Palestinians are guilty until proven otherwise. Their crime? Being in town when an explosive device was detonated near an Israeli military vehicle at a military checkpoint. A first in months, the explosion lightly injured 2 Israeli soldiers.
They stopped anyone and everyone they found in the city and made them sit with their hands on their heads like this, threatening us with weapons.
On Friday, Israeli forces lifted a curfew they had imposed for around 20 hours, but continued their raids, increasing Palestinians' fears and worries. They stormed dozens of homes, turning some into military posts and demolishing others.
I believe they are sending a message to the Israeli society that they're cracking down on Palestinians. A drone filmed that scene and published it on Israeli media.
Since the beginning of the year, 2 refugee camps in Tulkarem have been under Israeli siege. Israeli troops have been stationed in the city, forcibly displacing tens of thousands of people. The latest raids have come during a tense period in the occupied West Bank. The Israeli military has just withdrawn from Palestinian villages northwest of Jerusalem after a 4-day siege. It followed an attack by 2 Palestinians in an illegal Israeli settlement that killed 6 Israelis. Palestinians say Israel wants to remind them that if anyone dares to resist its occupation, everyone in the vicinity will pay the price. Nida Ibrahim, Al Jazeera.
Expands its rampage across the Middle East with an attack on Qatar. We examine the fallout in Doha, the region and beyond. Nepal erupts, its parliament torched by demonstrators angered by graft and censorship. Plus, South Africa, where whistleblowers have paid the ultimate price for exposing corruption. To say that Israel crossed a red line when it attacked Qatar this past week would be an understatement. Over the past 2 years, Israel has blasted through multiple red lines, illegally attacking Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and Iran, all while waging its genocidal assault on Gaza. But in bombing Qatar, one of Washington's closest non-NATO allies, the location of the largest military base in the Middle East, and the headquarters of this network, Al Jazeera, Israel has gone where no one thought it would. The target, according to the Israelis, was Hamas's senior leadership in Doha. The message could not be clearer. Israel is not interested in peace. It is prepared to fight an endless war to buy time for the total destruction of Gaza and the annexation of the West Bank. And it's a reminder that Israel feels it can act with impunity, shielded by unwavering backing from Washington as well as a complicit media apparatus. And whether or not Donald Trump knew of the attack beforehand, this development marks a decisive moment, leaving the Arab world in a state of outrage, with all kinds of implications for geopolitics across the Middle East. One could forgive the average news consumer for growing weary from all the headlines over the past 2 years about Israel razing Gaza, extending its control of the West Bank, then bombing country after country across the Middle East. This most recent strike, however, on Doha was different.
John, this is an absolutely extraordinary moment that we are witnessing right now.
Israel said it was targeting Hamas officials who had gathered there to discuss a new ceasefire proposal, one that came directly from the White House, which puts this attack on Qatar, the 6th country Israel has bombed through the course of the genocide, in a category of its own.
There's a couple reasons why this strike is different and a new line that has been crossed. First, Qatar has been playing a central role in mediating negotiations between Israel and Hamas. And Israeli officials have traveled to Qatar to engage in these negotiations. And this has been the single most successful path for Israel towards getting Israelis captives out of Gaza. The other part is Qatar is a key American ally. And so for the Israelis to carry out a strike inside Qatar sets it apart from all of the other places where it has carried out strikes over the last couple of years.
There's a misconception in the US media. It's this idea that Qatar is hosting Hamas against the wishes of the United States, when in fact it's the contrary. Qatar is hosting Hamas at the request of the United States. In fact, what it's doing is playing the role of a broker. One of Israel's biggest complaints against Qatar is its coverage of the genocide in Gaza. Coverage from outlets like Al Jazeera has been very consistent in showing the extent of damage and destruction taking place on the Gaza Strip. This is a narrative that Israel obviously does not want to see in the international media, and so targeting Qatar as the host of Al Jazeera is also one of its aims in this war.
Because Al Jazeera has been the primary mainstream source of news on the genocide in Gaza, constantly broadcasting pictures from a war zone that Israel has locked the rest of the global media out of. 10 of the network's journalists have been killed. In many cases, they were targeted by the Israelis. The message this attack on Doha reinforces: Benjamin Netanyahu is not interested in a ceasefire in Gaza, and he is willing to go further than ever to prevent one. His forces have targeted Hamas negotiators before. More than a year ago, they killed Ismail Haniyeh, the leader of the group's political wing, but the Israelis waited until he had traveled from Doha to Tehran before doing that. This time, they went after Hamas officials in Qatar, a country that has tried to broker a peace deal, but Israel failed to kill any of them. Still, the Speaker of the Israeli Parliament tweeted, "This is a message to the entire Middle East." How serious can Israel be about peace talks when it keeps targeting those on the other side of the negotiating table? When its own diplomats, like Israel's ambassador in Washington, warn that more assassinations are to come.
If we didn't get them this time, we'll get them the next time.
A message that back at home echoes across Israeli news outlets.
Reading and watching and listening to Israel media.
So I'm not sure if they're going to start exterminating them. They're still exterminating the people in Gaza. And I've come out and called it a genocide before everybody was calling it a genocide. Now, if you didn't know, most people 40 and younger are against the Israeli genocide. It's only the people over 40 that are for the extermination of the Palestinians. The other thing that's got me worried, I heard a rumor that Ben Shapiro, who's a raging lunatic Zionist, might take over Turning Point USA. That would be the end of Turning Point USA. God forbid. Don't let Ben Shapiro anywhere near Turning Point USA. I mean, no way, no how. Oh, man. So, I guess I'm sure it's all over the news, and now that this Tyler guy, his roommate was transgender and is talking to the FBI about how he did have a death wish to take out Charlie Kirk. So, and evidently, I guess he did. He was from a Utah conservative family. And so his father, where he gained the skills, I guess, because I was questioning who taught him how to shoot like that. Well, it was probably his father, unfortunately. The same person who supposedly turned him in. It's a crazy, crazy story. But that's only 10% of the problem. He was on Discord. I don't know what Discord is. I've never been on it in my life. I know very little about it. I guess I should ask Brock about what Discord is. Maybe I'll put it in the description. And I guess that he got radicalized talking to other leftist lunatics on Discord. So, and of course, Alex Jones has come out. In my last video, I featured Alex Jones. He's come out and said, I was right. I told you it was the Democrats, the leftist lunatics that killed Charlie Kirk. Alex, you were right. So, but anyway, I'm just trying to caution you. Most people don't like the fact that I came out with COVID. Against all the lockdown and the masks and against the jab, and was telling people not to get the jab. That alienated me from a lot of people. The fact that I was a Trump supporter alienated me from a lot of people. The fact that I was against, or I told them Ukraine was an evil nation, alienated me from a lot of people. So you can tell if I had had a job during all of that, I dare say I wouldn't have a job very long, especially now that I'm kind of active on social media, So let's tone down the rhetoric against free speech. Okay, they've celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. It's disgusting. It's immoral. But it's their right to free speech to do that. And they also celebrated when Trump nearly got shot. But we didn't cancel everybody for that. That was just, everybody said, well, that's free speech. Of course, a lot of right-leaning people, if I want to say just say conservative people, don't really take much notice to the world that's going on around them. It's why I have a difficult time to go into an American Legion or a VFW, because I want to talk about things like the pullout from Afghanistan and what a fiasco that was, or, back during the time, or, other important topics. And, that's politics. You can't talk about politics. Well, I imagine a lot of right-wingers or conservative people are talking politics now, aren't they? Oh, we can't talk about Charlie Kirk. That's politics, isn't it? Don't you think? Don't you think talking about Charlie Kirk is politics? You know, maybe if I go to the VFW and I bring up the name Charlie Kirk, they'll say, oh, we got to kick you out. You're talking about politics. Probably. That'll probably be their reaction. That's the way old people are. They don't want to talk anything. They don't even want to know what's going on in the world. All right, so we're going to get to the next video. This is Tucker Carlson and Megyn Kelly talking about Charlie Kirk and how he was making enemies. If you didn't know, the last 2 weeks, because he was coming out against the genocide, Charlie Kirk was, he was very big Zionist early on. And so there were a lot of billionaires or his backers that were telling him they were going to pull off funding from Turning Point USA if he continued down that path of anything against Israel. So he was getting a lot of pushback. But let's watch Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson right now.
He was one of the only people, I mean, truly one of the only people to go to the president whom he loved. He loved Donald Trump, like personally as well. And I think the president really loved him in a real way. But he was one of the only people to go to the Oval Office and say, sir, I totally understand and think Iran's really bad, but a war with Iran is not, you know, is something that could really hurt our country. I mean, boy, that was an unpopular position. He didn't need to express it. Oh, of course. And he did it again. He didn't have some weird agenda. He wasn't mad at anybody. He was for his country and he was for doing the right and wise and difficult thing. And he said that. He went to the Oval Office to say that. He took massive abuse from his own donors, which is also something that you don't see people. And he loved his donors. It wasn't a hostile thing, but they had a different view. A lot of them, not all, but a lot. And they expressed it to him in a very intense way. I know because he showed me. And he said, look, I understand your perspective. This is my perspective, and we're going to do what we think is the right thing, the wise thing.
In that way, too, he was the voice of young people. I mean, there are no young people in the country anymore supporting this war and wanting Israel to continue its bombing campaign. That's just the truth. Look at the polls. And he was in touch with them. And even where his own opinion may have differed from their opinion, he felt like he owed it to them to bring their message to the sitting president of the United States. I mean, it was, that's what's been snuffed out.
Well, as he has been, unfortunately, but he was one of the very few people I have met who combined like a love for everyone involved with strong views. So again, he was not animated by anything creepy or weird. I mean, you knew him intimately, so you know this is true. If you talk to him off camera, he would say, you know, I love whoever I'm talking about, but I think this is wrong. It's immoral. It's bad for everybody involved, both sides. And he would say that, and he could say that because it was sincere. It was completely sincere, but I cannot overstate the amount of attacks he took privately over this, like absolutely for real. And having lived in Washington most of my life and seen people run nonprofits, I've never met one who was willing. Stand up is too strong. He wasn't confrontational, but he would just say, no, I'm sorry that you feel that way, but I think this is the right thing. The people we represent, which is mostly young people, they believe this, and I believe it also. It was brave but loving at the same time. And I'm not sure he made a lot of headway, by the way. I mean, I think he made real enemies in doing that, but his view didn't.
Now, wasn't that interesting? So you could see Charlie Kirk was making a lot of enemies. Now, the question is, you know, okay, the kid was radicalized. Did somebody get to the kid to point him into, I tell you, if you go up to my X post, you'll see what I'm talking about. But people are coming up with all kinds of crazy questions. Like the rifle was supposedly found in the woods. Well, when he jumped down off the building, I saw the video, he didn't have the rifle with him. So who put the rifle in the woods? So you could see where you could just keep going down this rabbit hole in all kinds of different directions. So there's a lot that we don't know that's going on, and we don't know if some sort of intelligence agency didn't get to that, or find that kid and point him in the right direction. And maybe, you know, and then another thing, there was a rumor that he made a phone call, just like Crooks did, just before he got up on that roof and took the shot. So, which I think we're pretty positive that he's the one that killed Charlie Kirk. All right, so let's get to the final reason that I'm making this video. You know, another reason that people hate me is because I happen to like Russians. Okay, I think they're good people. They're Christians. They're Orthodox Christians. Putin is a huge Orthodox Christian. And I think he's very even-keeled. He certainly has led Russia very well. He's a great leader, in my opinion. But that's, you know, you're a Putin apologist. You're a Putin lover. You're a Putin lover. I get that all the time. So you can see I take the wrong side of everything. But, you know, at least early on, and then people come around. I think a lot of people are realizing Ukraine has a bunch of Nazis in it, the Banderas. You know, I think people are realizing that the genocide is taking place of the Palestinians. And, well, a lot of them don't care. They're Zionists. They're going, yeah, we do need to exterminate the Palestinians. So that's like Ben Shapiro. That's his attitude. That's Sean Hannity. That's his attitude. That's Mark Levin. That's his attitude. That's Todd Starnes. That's his attitude. They would just assume drop a nuclear bomb on Gaza, and they'd be happy about it, you know. So there are a lot of what do you want to call them? I call them Christian nationalists or Christian Zionists, excuse me, in the United States are very happy that the Palestinians are being exterminated. You can see how I'm on the wrong side. By the way, there's a bill before Congress right now to revoke the visas of anybody that comes out against Israel in like a ex-post or whatever. So I guess I'm not going anywhere because they're going to revoke my passport for sure. Of course, I can't go nowhere anyway, so I wouldn't care. The other thing, one last, before we get to the final video here, is, well, I guess that's about it. If I think of something else, we'll tack it on to the end of the video. Let's watch Alexander Dugin, and I want to show you, this is a 12-minute long video. I know it's going to be tough on you, and his accent's kind of hard to get through, but when you listen to him, he sounds exactly like a MAGA person, okay? And he's talking about the fact that we're all against the globalists. We're all up against the elite, okay? That's why I showed you the Che Bowls and the parade that's taking place up in the beginning. So, because we have to liberate Europe from the globalists, okay? All right, let's watch Alexander Dugin. If I think of something else, we'll add it onto the video. Peace out. Stay free. Here's Alexander Dugin, and that's the reason I made the video today.
We can speak now live to Alexander Dugin, Russian political philosopher, strategist, and author. Alexander, good to have you on the program here with us today. The news of Charlie Kirk's murder has really shocked the world. He held outspoken views on issues like LGBTQ+, abortion, religion, and gun rights, but he founded his movement on free speech. Clearly, he had a lot of people who disagreed with what he had to say, but why has debate become the source of such violence? Why can't people just talk to each other and agree to disagree?
So we need to get deeper, because in my family and myself personally, I confronted almost the same attitude. I have my daughter, Daria, we had and we have a conservative, traditionalist way of thinking. We think that traditional religion, hierarchy, history, identity, it's traditional values are of highest importance. So the killing of, and that is why Daria was murdered, and why they blamed me for so many years, for decades, because of my personal ideas that have nothing to do with fascism. That is totally different kind of no racism, no hatred, no xenophobia, no idea that one people is above the other. Nothing of fascism is in the conservative. The same case with Charlie Kirk, with Donald Trump, with many people of MAGA, Make American Great Again movement. So we are conservatives. We defend traditional values. As now our state, Russia, defends as well traditional values. That is all our crime. We are traditionalists. We are for our roots. for our religious faith, but there is the power on the global level, not only in the United States of America, that thinks that everyone who defends traditional values should be exterminated, eliminated, killed, murdered, so assassinated. That is the radicalization of liberal globalism. They could blame entire country for that without any proof, without any arguments. If someone is called fascist, for example, very mild, very balanced, very moderate conservative as Charlie Kirk or President Trump or myself or other people who believe in God, believe in church, believe in the history, believe in the spirit, in the afterlife, and all that religion says, they are immediately qualified as fascist, as racist, who defend the family, the normality. And on the other side, there are group of people, not just fringe persons, not just marginals. That is the huge system of the world scale system with governments, with educational organizations. They who promote this radical, anti-human, anti-natural point of view that the progress is necessary to abandon our identity, our gender identity, our human identity. That in order to be woke, as they say, we need to abandon national states. We need to turn away from our faith, to transform the family in some perversions. So they try to legitimize all the form of perversions, and everybody who is against that is declared fascist. But what means this word in the West? This word fascist means that you can kill. You can kill fascists. So you can kill President Trump, or you can kill Charlie Kirk, very moderate, very mild person that wanted to start the dialogue. He was very active in MAGA. He was very important. Trump considered himself, Charlie Kirk, as his political son. So that is a kind of beginning of the revolt, the riot of these liberals, of these globalists against all the normal people. And I feel such a pain in the killing, assassination of this Charlie Kirk, this person, because I have suffered the same. So I have lost my daughter for the same accusations. I never was advisor of Mr. Putin, as they claim. I never was fascist. I always was conservative. I have written many books on that, claiming that fascism is very, very bad idea, that we need to criticize that. So all my fight is in favor of tradition. The same as Charlie Kirk. He is 1 year younger than Daria. So Daria, my daughter, is now would have 33 years, and Charlie Kirk was killed at 31. Right. So they hit the youth. This globalist killers, these terrorists, they try to hit the best of us. They try to erase the future, but I don't think that they could count on their victory. I think that the rise of the resistance is now evident, including in the West and in the United States of America.
Mr. Dugin, we can see the photo of your beautiful daughter Daria behind you, and you have said that forces motivating Charlie Kirk's murder grew out of the same centers that led to the murder of your daughter Dasha. The prime suspect in the U.S., though, is a 22-year-old. I mean, can you elaborate on who specifically you think is responsible? I mean, what would motivate a 22-year-old to carry out such a horrific act like this?
So that is not just the crime committed by some isolated person, young person. That is the result of the huge campaign of demonization of political opponent. That is quite opposite to any form of democracy. That is purely fascist way of doing. So the generation of young American people is raised now in this perverted vision that you should kill everybody who criticize LGBT prohibited in Russian Federation. You should kill everybody who has any doubt about liberalism, globalization, post-humanism, the end of the family, the mass migration. And what I was very, very deeply depressed by the reaction of many Americans in the network. They were exactly as Ukrainians who laughed when my daughter was killed. So many Ukrainians regarded the killing of my daughter with great joy, and they didn't hide it. The same with the death and this assassination of Charlie Kirk. So that is generation. It is not about one isolated extremist young person. Tyler Robinson. It is a quite different thing. It is about generation. That is result of systematic apply of these woke cancel culture, progressivism, left liberal, so-called anti-fascist values. Because when liberals say appoint someone to be fascist, so after that this person is doomed. So there will be always someone who follow this educational strategy and will apply the principles of this anti-human attitude as promoted by Soros, promoted by Karl Popper, open society in its enemy. So that is already in the theory. So this isolated young man, 22 years old, is just the other victim of that. So many people now blame him personally. I think he is as well as victim. So he was a patsy. He was a tool, just instrument, not the real evil doer, because he did exactly that he was taught to do during the decades. So they have occupied the globalists, the liberals, with their terroristic ideology. They have occupied the colleges in the United States, all the educational system, and they call all their opponent, political opponent, whoever they are, fascists, and that's all. That is the end of debates. So that, I think, we are dealing with this very horrible case, not individual terrorist. It is the logical result of the anti-human liberal ideology that was installed in the American society.
We did see some very horrific public reaction to Charlie Kirk's murder. Some commentators on liberal media channels even gleeful over his killing, seeming to justify his views, saying that the killing was justified in many ways. And I know that in reaction to Kirk's murder, you said that, quote, the Democratic Party is America's Ukraine. What similarities do you see there? Because we in fact do see a lot of support for Ukraine among liberals in America.
So that is, it seems that is the same mood, I would say, the same ideology. The Ukrainians have Mirotvorets, and Daria was as well put there. Mirotvorets, the site prohibited in the Russian Federation. When the people is put there with the name, with the address, so that is the victim to kill, and that was supported by the Western liberals, by the Democratic Party. So they promoted and they started this terrorist attitude to kill the opponents. And I think I see the great similarity between the reaction of Ukrainian population on the death of Daria, and today American liberal influencers, journalists, ideologues on the death assassination of Charlie Kirk. The same attitude. They laugh. They are happy. They say it is good and that is not the end. We will kill everybody else who disagree with us. It is the new form of totalitarianism, and it is difficult to say who was the first to start that this anti-human attitude to the innocent people and this total approval of the killing of the innocent. So either that were Ukrainians, because that is their style. We know that for almost 10 years now they hatred toward us, toward all Russians, or that was the artificial hatred, artificial hate prepared and imposed on them by the Western liberals. There is the fact-checking. There is one and the same reaction on the very similar cases. So the brutality, the violence, and the hatred, that is outside, beyond any normal human limits. Because if you kill someone on the front line, it's one thing. But when you kill absolutely innocent, open to dialogue person whose crime is to have the ideas you disagree with, it is totally different. So that is some moral breakdown in the society, in American society, in this leftist circles, as well as in Ukrainian society. So there is something wrong with Western society. That is something terrible, because it is not normal. Charlie Kirk, neither Charlie Kirk nor Daria Dugina, they didn't participate in physical war. They never invited to kill their opponents, and they are killed. They are killed because of their opinion. That is the crime of opinion. That is something terrible, something that contradicts to any normal principle of liberalism, but it is so. And I don't understand what is it, but it seems to be a new kind of civil war in the United States, and maybe on the global scale, because there are people who share this so-called Antifa ideology, and basing on that, they are ready to kill, and they don't hide it. So there is the normal people with different opinions, with different point of view, who can disagree, but they are still in the limit of the normal debates, normal exchange of the opinions. So there is two halves of the humanity.
I want to go back to a point that you made earlier about how you yourself have been labeled a fascist, because this killing of Charlie Kirk comes after Democrats have long been fear-mongering about Republicans, including Donald Trump, calling him fascist. What is the interest exactly behind these strong accusations and this label of fascism?
So, first of all, we shouldn't exclude there are fascists. There are people who recognize themselves to be fascist, and that doesn't mean that they should be immediately killed, but that is one thing. And there are the other people, the absolute majority of people accused to be fascists who are absolutely not. Who, if they would, they could be. They could declare that, but they declare we are not fascists and so on. But nevertheless, the liberals still continue to stigmatize them with this name because it is not just form of insult. It is a kind of order to kill because fascism is considered. And that is just basing on historical phenomenon. It is, we could understand that because we have lost the millions of Russian and millions of Russian people fighting the fascism. So fascism is real. Fascism is real, and to fight fascism is the duty of normal people. But when we see how liberals, how globalists use this label, so that is the order to kill. And when Trump, who is absolutely not fascist, so he is just conservative, pragmatic conservative, is accused of being fascist, that is, you catch the ballot, as was written on the bullet of the that has killed Charlie Kirk. So if you don't love homosexual, you are fascist. You should be killed. Catch it. So that is something terrible, and that is the order to kill, and not just a political name. So that has nothing to do with real ideology of fascism. It is just the form of invitation of the extermination. The same was used by the real Nazis in Germany when they accused someone to be Jew. That meant that the death sentence. So when someone is called fascist without any real proof, without agreement with that, so that is a kind of death sentence against the innocent. So I think that is the form of political extremism. So we had in the history two forms of political totalitarianism: communist totalitarianism, fascist totalitarianism, and now we have third form of totalitarianism, liberal. And when liberals, they used the term fascist as the death sentence that everybody among them could issue. That is the real hatred, hate speech. When you use the term fascist against the person who is not, it should be considered as hate speech.
We do seem to be seeing a pattern of hostility toward Christianity and conservative voices, certainly in Western mainstream media. Why is that? What is it about conservative views that people would find so dangerous?
Because that, I think that is very, very deep situation. It is not just some case, transitory case. Because the people who defend God, they are fighting for God. Because that is verticality, that is spirituality, that is the church, that is tradition. And the liberals and globalists, they really hate God. They hate tradition. They call that essentialism. So if you believe that there is something eternal, something permanent, you are fascist. According to their philosophy, the liberal philosophy, everybody who insists that there is something stable in the being, the God, the tradition, the church, the spirit, they are enemy of open society. They are obstacles to the progress. They should be eliminated. So that is about the fight between God and the devil. So I think that liberal globalism becomes more and more openly satanic. So when we speak about, as our president, about satanic Western civilization, is not just a metaphor. It is not just the way of saying. It's something deeper. I think that today the Western globalist elite, they become really satanic, and they fight the people who believe in God, who believe in family, in tradition, who defend traditional values. They accuse them to be someone, something they are not. For example, extremists, terrorists, killers, but for them, it is enough to destroy them. So that was put in the Black Bible of liberals, so the book of Karl Popper that is called Open Society and Its Enemy. In this book, that is Black Bible of Soros, it is written, don't wait when the people who disagree with liberalism will come and kill you. Kill them first. So that is absolutely horrible, and that is liberalism. We used to consider liberalism as something very mild, open to discussion, to debate. New liberalism is something different. So new liberalism invites to kill you if you are not liberal. That is totally different definition of this political ideology. And this political ideology, we maybe don't understand that correctly. This political ideology is ruling in the West, among the Western elite, society, education, and MAGA and Trump and conservatives who have now the power in the United States. They represent the other part of the population. They represent alternative, conservative idea. They are not against progress or liberals, but they defend the right to believe in God, to have the safe society, to have the family, to be normal, to have two gender. To defend traditional value. They don't attack, they defend. They are not on offensive, they are on defensive. But nevertheless, they now exterminated. So I think that we see now explosion of the normality in the Western society, because the Charlie Kirk has called his movement, his platform, turning point of United States of America. Turning point means stop that. Stop this liberal terror. Stop this totalitarianism. Let return. Let come back to the normality, to the traditional value. Let defend something, including that you disagree with. Let defend the rights of speech, of opinion, of religion. All that is cancelled now in this totalitarian liberal system of the West.
Looking more broadly, do you see Charlie Kirk's murder as part of a trend of political assassinations and attacks on public figures in the U.S. and also worldwide?
Obviously, he is not the only one. That is the last. But if we consider what was done to Donald Trump during his campaign, there was the killer who tried to shoot him. So that is the part. And if we hear what the people, the liberals in the network, what they say, they affirm, they are very, they have joy about assassination of Charlie Kirk, and they promise to do more assassination, to kill Donald Trump, to kill his family, to kill Elon Musk, to kill all the supporters of Make America Great Again. That is the invitation, the claim to start the civil war. And I think that is so. That now we see against whom we are fighting on the global scale, against whom the conservatives fight, including Ukraine, and our battlefield there becomes more and more clearer, I think, now before in front of us. So we are fighting against this world, against this terrible globalist liberal double standard hegemony. So I think that and that provokes resistance now, and the people becomes they understand what is going on. They become more and more awakened, I would say, because there are so many people from Democrat Party, so many people from ex-liberals now who are converting into Republicans and to conservatives because they understand that that such deeds as the killing of innocent person who just his only weapon was micro. He did never participated in the battlefield. Charlie Kirk, that is innocent victim. So it is too much, and many people, I think, will get out from this liberal camp. Only radical extremists could still continue that line, and I think there will be some reaction on the top level of the United States of America. There should be something.
Mm-hmm. All right, Alexander Dugin, Russian political philosopher, strategist, and author. Thank you so much.
Hey, Nevitt, I wanted to get the sunset on the video, but I had to get past this tree line. And of course, if you've ever tried to watch a sunset, it actually goes down pretty doggone fast, but there's the remnants of it. So I thought of one other thing I wanted to discuss. If you're not on Truth Social, as many of us aren't, I hardly ever post on Truth Social these days. I think I garnered all of 7 followers there, and I posted on it on a regular basis for almost a year. Occasionally I go over there and post something just for the hell of it. But anyway, Trump put out this wild post on Truth Social, and I don't know. There's a lot of people reading into it. One guy put out a whole analysis. I should have bookmarked it because I was hoping his analysis was correct. But what Trump basically said is, hey, Europe, you want us to impose these secondary sanctions. Of course, that lunatic Lindsey Graham, he's up there beating the war drum. Oh, we got to have 100%, 500% sanctions on. Can you imagine putting 500% sanctions on India and China, what that would do to the United States? My God. But anyway, Trump told him, he said, look, Europe, if you quit buying Russian oil, we'll impose the secondary sanctions. But until you do that, we're not going to take you seriously. I mean, this isn't what he said, okay? I'm just kind of summarizing what he said. And he said, knowing that Europe, there's no way in hell they can go along with that because it would literally bankrupt their countries. But you know what? Their leaders, they don't care about their people, so you never know. they might just do it and totally smash their economies beyond what they've already been smashed, So, well, we shall see. But a lot of people, a lot of people are speculating is because what he wants is Europe to take the fall for when Russia is done crushing Ukraine. He doesn't want to take the blame for that. We got these guys, I tell you, they've been going up and down. So, the guy pops a hell of a wheelie. Maybe he'll do one for the camera. Let's see if we can get him. There he goes. There he goes. Yeah, he saw me filming. Let's see if his partner does it. No, his partner didn't do it. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad we got that on the video. Let's keep it on the sunset. So he knows that Europe can't go along with that, and so that's going to give Trump the excuse to just let things happen in Ukraine, and then he can say, look, I did everything I could for Ukraine. We kept up the money from Biden and everything else, but Europe's the ones who wouldn't go all the way and cut themselves off from Russian oil. They're the ones who backed the Russian war. Oh, and there's also a post by Dmitry Medvedev that we'll get in the next video, because Great Britain has given $1.3 billion of Russian money to Ukraine. They stole the money. And Dmitry basically came out and said, once we're done, and he didn't put it in these words, but I'm just going to summarize for you. He said, once we're done crushing Ukraine, we're going to be taking this to an international court. And guess what, Great Britain? You're going to have to pay reparations to Russia. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, I don't know how they're going to force that. I mean, you know, Britain sits on the Security Council, but, you know, it's becoming a bipolar world. You never know. If we do away with the UN, there could be UN number 2, which represents the bipolar world instead of the Western world. So we'll see what happens with all of that. Hey, and one last thing. I got to give the ex-liberal lunatic wife a compliment. You know, one of the things she told me is a coward dies 1,000 deaths. And that is damn true. And there's been a lot, I don't know about you, there's always that one thing where you just like, oh, I just can't do it. So I've got the server for my whole video studio hooked up, all the cabling's on it and everything. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've been making every excuse under the sun not to push that power button to see what happens. It's like I don't want to know, man. Because if that thing doesn't power up and recognize all the USB ports and everything, I am just screwed. It weighs a gazillion pounds, man. I could never get it back to the place where I took it in the first place. It would take me days. It would set me back a week or two on the video studio. So yeah, I was out fertilizing the lawn today and, and doing the dishes, the laundry, everything else, you know. Doing backups. I did do that because I've got to refresh the laptop. All right, we'll head on back. If we think of something else, I hope you enjoyed the sunset. That's why I walk along this road, because you do get the nice sunsets. I don't know if you could see that car with the blinking lights. They got a flat tire, and look how fast they're going. Can you imagine the damage they're going to do to that rim? People, if you ever get a flat tire, you got to pull over. Most everybody has cell phones these days. You're going to have to take a tow and pay the money, because if it's going to cost them a lot more money driving on that flat tire than it would have cost if they just pulled over and let them pick that car up and got an Uber home. Hey, I just remembered something that I wanted to talk about. Since I talked a bit about Israel, I was watching Chaz Freeman. If you're not familiar, he's he's old now, but he was a diplomat of renown for the federal government for many years. Anyway, he was given the background and the history of how the United States became Israel first, and United States last. And because I never really understood the history. If you didn't know, Eisenhower actually went against Israel back in the day. They had attacked Egypt and Syria, and they were going to take over the Suez Canal. And Eisenhower basically put his foot down and said, you know, you're not taking the Suez Canal, and Israel had to back off in that situation. And so it wasn't really until Johnson got into office. And what Johnson did was he went and he made, because that was Johnson Goldwater. I know you young people don't remember that. Hell, I don't even remember it. I was only a few years old at that point. But anyway, so the way that worked was Johnson went to the Jewish billionaires, and he told them, he says, look, if you back me against Goldwater, and also we had an arms embargo at that time on Israel. We weren't selling them any weapons or giving them weapons as what we do today. And so he said, look, I'll take that arms embargo off if you'll support me in the election. And so that was when it became Israel first and the United States last, was under the Johnson administration, a Democrat. Unbelievable, huh? So that was the beginning. I just thought that was an interesting historical note that Chaz Freeman threw out, and also Johnson. I'm sure some of you may have heard about the USS Liberty. The sailors that were on the USS Liberty were not allowed to talk about it, because if you didn't know, Israel killed a bunch of sailors on that ship, and Johnson, because he had made that pact with the Israeli billionaires, that was all a hush hush. Well, they're all retired now, and so once you're retired, you can talk about things. so we found out a lot about that whole incident when Israel bombed the hell out of that U.S. ship that was been covered up for many years. But that was under the Johnson administration also. Just a little couple of factoids for ya. Daggone it, another thing just popped in my head. This will be real brief. If you didn't know, Andrew Tate came on X, and he said that the shooter, Charlie Kirk's shooter, that Tyler guy, that he felt he should die the same way Charlie Kirk did, and he said he'd be happy to pull the trigger. Now, I'm sure he thought that could never happen, but guess what? Utah is the only state in the union where you can have death by firing squad. I did not know that. So that'll be interesting. He could die by firing squad. We never know. So I got more on that list of memorials to Charlie Kirk. Let's get the sky in the thing here. It's Berlin, Australia, Africa, and Italy. So they're all have memorials up to Charlie Kirk. So that's 4 more on the list. Just thought you'd want to know.
This time there are no suspects. You only blame the murder weapon.
It was the candlestick. The candlestick is the killer.
Why won't anyone stop these murders with common sense candlestick control?
I'm gonna write legislation to ban them. I just need to get it past the NCA, the National Candlemen Association.
The Supreme Court just overturned the candlestick ban.
It's fun for the whole family, except for children or the elderly.
When can we end this candlestick culture that is killing us?